we know what we experience. So if you just grow here, you think, yeah, that's everything. And you read and stuff. That's the thing. Until it happens to you, you cannot really grasp it. Like if you've always been rich, you cannot really grasp poverty. If you've always been privileged, you cannot really grasp being a minority. Like it's normal. Yeah. You can have as much empathy as you can, but you cannot really understand. Like I cannot understand being, I don't know, profiled or whatever, because it never happened to me.
Yeah. And on that note, so how do you deal with the people that don't like your jokes? Like you're talking about, as you're talking about the line, people have varying degrees of like what's offensive, what's not offensive. You know, that guy shouldn't be talking about this. Like, so how do you deal with these kinds of people as you're performing?
As I told you, I'm very open to confrontation.
Yep.
There's two ways to criticize a joke. And if you talk about your personal experience and your personal humor and the fact that you've been offended by a joke, for example, I will always listen to you and I will always try to understand your point of view. And if you feel that way, you can't be wrong because that's how you feel. The problem is when people generalize, because then it's just not true. Like, then you just try to make a point. But if somebody comes to me and tells me I had a problem with that joke, first of all, I want to know what was the problem. And I want to go deep because as much feedback I can get, the better it is, because maybe I can make the joke better. Because I feel that there is no taboo. You could be able to make a joke about everything. The thing is that you have to make it clever enough or funny enough. The problem is not that the joke is offensive. The problem is that person didn't find that joke funny enough. So if it's not funny. Second thing, you have to understand where that joke comes from. What's the deeper meaning behind that joke? What's the context of that joke? But also, this is the thing about offensive joke. Like, for example, Dave Chappelle got a lot of backlash for the trans. And there is this concept, especially in the US, with comedians, which is punching up and punching down. For example, I'm a white man. If I talk about black people or women or trans, I'm punching down because in society, the patriarchy, whatever, I'm perceived as a higher status. And we're trying to change and we're trying to make a level playing field. And that's what Dave Chappelle was all about. He was like, I'm not punching down when I talk about trans, I'm punching up because trans people made shit happens in a few years so much more than the black community ever did. Now, the thing about comedians is this. The comedian is a very, very old job. It comes down when we were jesters at the court. And the comedian's job was to talk shit. The comedian was the jester, the buffoon, whatever you want to call it, he was the only one that was allowed to talk shit about the king. Because he would make it in a funny way, and people would say, and he would not be killed if it was funny enough. If it wasn't funny, then his head would be chopped out. But the role of the comedian, I think, is misunderstood. The comedian is not the one who has to change the world. The comedian is the one who just shed a light on the problems of society. That's the only job. He's not a politician. He's not there to change. He's there to say, there's a problem here. The day I, let's say, make a rape joke and nobody gets offended is the day there's no more rapes. But if somebody gets offended, it means that it's a real problem and we need to keep talking about it.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So you're just shining a light on the problem. So it doesn't.
I'm not part of the solution.
Right. But it doesn't trigger you when you offend someone. That's actually that's your job. Also.
Yeah, in a way it is.
In a way, yeah.
In a way it is.
Yeah.
It really is. And of course there's different levels of, like, there's some jokes that makes no sense. Like, for example, I think I told you before in a dinner we had a few days ago, I teach comedy. And now in Bali, as you said, people know me. And when people want to try in comedy, they want to impress me. And one of the most natural things that people try to do to impress me is making very offensive joke as their first joke or their first set. And I had a dozen people having a joke that included the N-word. I was like, what? Why? Like, why? Just because they wanted to have this shock value.
And they weren't black.
No, of course. None of them was black. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I think I heard my girlfriend say the N-word maybe twice in 2 years.
Damn.
Yeah. Actually, one time she called me the N-word, and I was so proud. I was like, oh, say it again.
Are you putting that one in? That was a good one.
Yeah. I actually, even before, like when she told me she's pregnant, and I still have to, I will not say the N-word, obviously, but I'm still trying to find a way, because it's something that I thought about, like, what if my son called me with the N-word? Like, I will lose all my power as a parent because I can't reply, you know? Like, if he says, shut up, and then he said, like, I have to shut up. Like, what do I do then?
What do you do then?
Exactly.
It's funny because now we're talking about it. That might actually happen. Like you're bringing it in. You're calling it in.
Oh yeah, of course, son. I think that in theory, I could be able to use the N-word in a joke, but there's such a history behind the word that it should be such clever joke that is on a level that is almost unprecedented. You know what I mean?
Yeah.